Have you ever stopped to think about this? Well, this paradox at the heart of U.S. foreign policy.
Right.
A nation founded on non-intervention principles. Yet our sources show it's become this massive global intervener. We're talking nearly 400 military actions between 1776 and 2023. And get this, over half of those since 1950. More than a quarter just since the Cold War ended. So today, we're diving deep. We want to ask, when do these actions cross a line? When are they widely seen or legally challenged as violating international law? To kick us off, what's the fundamental rule here, the one that keeps getting tested?
Right. Well, that bedrock principle, it's right there in the UN Charter, Article 2.4. It essentially mandates that all member states refrain from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. Basically, you can't just invade or threaten another country's borders or its government. It's really the cornerstone.
Okay, the cornerstone. But our sources suggest powerful states, the U.S. included, find ways around this, not always breaking the rule outright, but maybe stretching it, redefining it, what some critics are calling expansive interpretations. What does that look like?
Yeah, exactly. A really key example is the Bush Doctrine, this idea of preemptive or anticipatory self-defense. It argued for military action against threats that weren't necessarily imminent. And that specific idea, well, international legal scholars explicitly said it was not yet sanctioned by international law. You see, the UN Charter is actually very narrow on using force. It really only allows it in two situations: if the UN Security Council authorizes it, or in genuine self-defense against an actual armed attack.
Ah, so that narrowness led to some big challenges. Like with the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the UN Secretary General at the time, Kofi Annan, he weighed in, didn't he?
He did, very clearly. Annan stated the invasion was, and I quote, not in conformity with the UN Charter, and therefore illegal, because it lacked that crucial UN authorization. And this pattern, of interpreting rules loosely or just sidestepping them, it fundamentally undermines the whole system.
Undermines the system. It's fascinating because the conversation then often shifts, right? It moves towards intentions. Even if the legal ground seems shaky, take the responsibility to protect RTP, a noble goal, preventing mass atrocities. But critics see it sometimes as a pretext, maybe. A way to justify intervention without clear legal sanction. How's that played out?
Well, the 2011 Libya intervention is probably the critical case study there. Initially, it was justified under R2P, protect civilians, but it faced widespread criticism later for mission creep.
Mission creep.
Meaning the original limited goal seemed to expand. It was perceived by many to have shifted towards regime change, something not explicitly authorized by the UN Security Council, and the results: prolonged civil war, state collapse, estimates of at least 7,000 more casualties. It really damaged trust among UN members. You saw that later with, say, Russia and China vetoing Syria resolutions. They pointed back to Libya.
Great. So it's not just about initiating force, but also how that force is used. Which brings us to international humanitarian law, IHL, the laws of war. These focus on protecting civilians during conflict. And our sources mention credible allegations of U.S. violations here, too.
Yes, unfortunately, there are significant concerns. For instance, reports about rising civilian casualties from U.S.-led airstrikes in Afghanistan over the years. And that tragic 2021 drone strike comes to mind. It mistakenly killed 10 Afghan civilians, 7 children among them. What also raises eyebrows is this perceived double standard, where the International Criminal Court, the ICC, seemed to deprioritize its investigation into alleged U.S. war crimes in Afghanistan.
This pattern, challenging legal norms, whether starting a conflict or during it. It often seems tied back to this idea of American exceptionalism. But critics argue it becomes something else, exemptionalism. What's the difference? What do they mean?
They mean it translates into a belief, or at least an appearance, that the U.S. sees itself as somehow above international law, exempt from it. This can foster unilateralism, acting alone. You see it, for example, in the U.S. not ratifying widely supported treaties, like the Ottawa Treaty banning landmines. It really begs an important question, doesn't it? What's the impact on global governance when such a powerful state acts as if the rules don't fully apply to it?
So let's bring this together for you, our listener. What does it all mean? We've traced this recurring pattern, right? U.S. military actions facing serious questions, allegations of aggression, of illegality. There's this constant tension between the stated goals of U.S. foreign policy and, well, the often destabilizing results on the ground.
Absolutely. And the challenge here, this perceived accountability gap for powerful states, it really weakens the whole idea of universal international law. Its credibility suffers. So the thought we want to leave you with is this: how do these actions, this perceived gap, shape global stability and the international rule-based order we all ultimately depend on?